Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. I'm Charissa Moreau, the Customer Relationship Manager here at TechSoft 3D and your host. We'd like to thank you all for joining us today. We are excited to hear from our customer, Aaron Boyer, on how they're enabled self-service CAD data access at FlexingGate. So as I said, I'm Charissa Moreau, your host and presenter for today, and joining me is my colleague, Ricky Johnson, our technical marketing consulting engineer, as well as our special guest speaker, Aaron Boyer, the Global Director of CAD and CAE at FlexingGate. And Aaron, we are so delighted to have you. Today, we will review TechSoft 3D's background, who we are and what we do, followed by a brief overview of SpinFire Insight. I'll then hand things over to Ricky to demonstrate Insight, and Aaron will conclude with a few of FlexingGate use cases of SpinFire Insight. Lastly, we should have time for some questions. TechSoft 3D is the leading technology provider to the engineering community, dedicated to unlocking the power of 3D. TechSoft 3D provides engineering software development toolkits as well as software applications for CAD, CAE, data conversion, visualization, and data publishing to partners and customers worldwide. We're a global team, and today I am joining you from the Detroit, Michigan area. We also have major development offices in Lyon and Sofia, France, and in Norway, and some of our sales offices are found throughout. I'd like to take a minute to talk with you about our SpinFire portfolio. At TechSoft 3D, SpinFire isn't just a single product. It's a set of solutions designed to solve different challenges around engineering data. Each solution is focused and powerful on its own, whether that's conversion, visualization, or immersive experiences. But the real value comes from how they work together. What we're offering is a choice without fragmentation. Instead of managing multiple vendors, tools, and workflows, you're working with one partner who understands your engineering data across formats, teams, and use cases. So while these solutions may address different needs, they all support the same goal: making engineering data more accessible and usable across the business. And with that context, let's dive into SpinFire Insight, where we're going to cover how SpinFire Insight helped FlexingGate improve team independence and collaboration while saving on CAD license costs, the same way it has for over 2,000 organizations. You can see here, SpinFire serves a global customer base, with 80% involved in the automotive sector. So for those of you that are new to SpinFire, SpinFire Insight gives engineers and non-engineers immediate access to 2D and 3D CAD data without needing native CAD systems. It's built to help teams review, validate, and communicate design information quickly and accurately. At its core, Insight removes the friction typically associated when working with CAD data. Instead of dealing with large complex files and system dependencies, engineers can open and interact with models instantly. A common challenge across organizations is that CAD data contains far more information than most downstream users actually need. That makes files heavy, difficult to navigate, and hard to share. SpinFire Insight addresses this by creating a lightweight, high-fidelity representation of the model. You keep the geometric accuracy needed for the inspection and analysis, but in a format that's fast to load, easy to handle, and simple to share. The result is faster design reviews, clearer communication, and fewer bottlenecks across engineering, manufacturing, and supplier teams. Rather than just talk through it, let's look at how this comes into life with your workflow. I'd like to take this moment to reintroduce my colleague, Ricky. So Ricky, whenever you are ready, please take it away.
All righty. Thank you very much, Carissa. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is what SpinFire Insight looks like if you're not already familiar with it. And so in this demonstration, we're just going to talk about like some of the measurement capabilities that exist within SpinFire Insight and also some of the analysis tools that we have. So if you look at the top toolbar up here, there's several different drop downs available that kind of range from simple interaction to a little bit more advanced down here. And we're going to kind of talk about some of those that exist that can kind of help you interrogate some of your models a little bit easier. So if I drop down this linear drop down menu, you can see a lot of kind of commonplace measurement operators such as point-to-point measurement, arc center to arc center and thickness as well. And so we'll kind of start off with one of these and just kind of pick it and show how it works in SpinFire Insight. So I'll do arc center to arc center. And what's nice about this is that SpinFire Insight identifies the different arcs that you're hovering over. And then all you have to do is point and click to place a markup or annotation on your view. And so you can do that in several locations to place whatever measurements you might need. Additionally, there are different operators that exist within here as well that you might find interesting, such as thickness. And with this, again, SpinFire Insight identifies parallel walls and automatically produces that distance for you. So as you can see, as I quickly navigate around, these numbers change to reflect what I'm currently showing. And so it gives you a way to quickly, again, interrogate your model without much button clicking or anything like that. So now we have a few different annotations that are present on our view. And what I'd like to show you is that SpinFire Insight is very configurable when it comes to the data that gets displayed within your model. So right now we're in millimeters, but you can quickly switch to inches or to different units if you have other units that you'd like to display as well. And you should notice that SpinFire Insight allows for mixed dimensioning. So even though these appear in millimeters, you can also show this in inches, which makes it really convenient. Additionally, you can also change the amount of decimals that are shown. And so one thing I'd like to point out is that changing the decimal resolution doesn't modify the model in any way. It just kind of influences how the data is shown on your screen. So no worries about like model manipulation or changing your model in any way with SpinFire Insight. And so one additional thing that I like to show is we kind of talked about how it progresses from more basic functionality to a little bit more advanced once you get onto this side. And so I'd like to show this smart edge dimensioning. Very similar to the thickness tool that we used, SpinFire Insight identifies these edges for you. And for whatever edge you'd like to, show within your model, SpinFire Insight automatically identifies that and allows you to place that model or place that dimension on your screen. So I'll just place a couple different dimensions. And also I'm going to do another thickness analysis here. And so again, SpinFire Insight makes it really easy to share data amongst team members. And so what it also allows you to do is add different markups. So let's say that this thickness falls outside of our tolerance, we can specify that. So falls outside of tolerance. Sorry, and I spelled that wrong, but I won't correct that right now. So what it allows you to do is specify different user views. So if you wanted to send this off to manufacturing or your designer or anything like that, you can just create a new user view. Error, we'll just call that error here. And then we'll navigate to a different location, and let's just say we want to create a user view here as well. And we'll call this up to spec. And so then all you have to do is save this file as an Act3D file, which right now it's a PRT, but when you save it as an Act3D file, it's SpinFire's proprietary file format. So you can send that off to a colleague, and all they have to do is navigate to these different user views, and they're quickly just kind of almost teleported to that view that you'd like to specify. So this eliminates a lot of miscommunication opportunities or anything like that. You can give them the view exactly where you need them to be looking. And again, it just kind of eliminates some of that potential error for miscommunication. And so to kind of illustrate that a bit further, actually, before I navigate to a new model, I'd like to show one more capability within SpinFire Insight. So I kind of talked about some of the measurement capabilities that we have already. But SpinFire Insight also has a lot of different analysis capabilities as well, such as model compare, draft angle analysis, and wall thickness analysis. And as you can see, we have curvature and rule-based coloring as well. So I just like to show this wall thickness analysis really quick. And this, again, is another way just to visualize your data without needing to interrogate things individually. So this gives a very colorful way of showing your data, which can be really useful for any non-technical members of your team. It's just a quick and easy way to visualize this. So once this gets finished, you can see a legend that pops up that lets you know the wall thickness and what color is represented by that wall thickness. So as you can see, we have some green that's around 5 millimeters, some orange that kind of falls outside of our 10 millimeter window, and then other colors as well. So again, without needing to be very good with SpinFire Insight or anything like that, you can get a very quick and comprehensive visual of some of the data that exists within your model. So I'm going to stop that and then navigate to a different model. So I kind of mentioned how SpinFire Insight makes it very easy to share data amongst all levels of members of your team, whether they're engineering or executives or product manufacturers and anything in between, without needing to have access to CAD licenses. So this is a file that my colleague actually made. And again, he just saved it as an Act3D file. And he's created these user views. And I just like to kind of show some of the power of those user views and how they can be used to share data. So right now we're in our initial view, but then I can go to this exploded view, excuse me. And as you can see, it just gives me this nice exploded view, which I can then go in and analyze myself, identify how things are put together, and interrogate my model without needing to do any manipulation myself within SpinFire Insight. So that makes it really nice for people that aren't very good with CAD systems or anything like that. As long as you can click a button, click between these user views, you can use SpinFire Insight to see the data that you need. Another nice thing about it is my colleague already created these markups, but you can go inside of the properties and relabel this. So we'll call this past. So we can specify something like this past initial testing or whatever we might need to do. And when we save this file and then send it back, this callout will now be reflected with what we currently updated it to. So I'll navigate back to our exploded view and go back to our callouts. And now you can see that it's reflected how I've updated it. Additionally, SpinFire Insight is capable of doing various calculations. So what you can do is right click, and within here you have different materials that are available. So if you'd like to calculate weight for a specific material, let's say this was made out of aluminum, you can do that very quickly. Additionally, there's different calculations down here available to you, such as volume, surface area, as mentioned, weight calculation, and more. And I'm kind of running up on time, but I'd like to show you actually a couple more things, just a couple more things to show before I get out of here. Model comparison is also another very nice feature within SpinFire Insight. If you have version control for the models that get created, this model comparison tool is a great way to visualize what's changed between version 1 versus version 2, etc. So rather than running this model comparison myself, I'll show a different user view that actually has model comparison already enabled. And so again, that makes life very nice for sharing data, because whoever you're sharing it with doesn't have to implement this model comparison themselves. And so it makes it very easy for people to visualize without being very good with SpinFire Insight. One last thing to show are these CAD importer settings. So depending on what type of data you're working with, we have presets available to you that can work for different model types. So, for example, quality is basically as high as we can go, and it's recommended for small to medium models. So, if model resolution is really important to you, then you might load it in quality. However, if you're working with a very large model, as you can see, performance loads minimal geometry and is recommended for very large models. So regardless of what types of models you're working with, we have presets available to you that are just clickable and easily configurable. And you can also go in and customize things as you like as well. And then lastly, these are just all the different file formats that SpinFire Insight supports. So again, regardless of whatever models you're using, hopefully SpinFire Insight can provide some type of use to you and your team. So with that, that's everything that I've got. So I'll go ahead and pass it back off to Charissa.
Thank you, Ricky, for your insightful demonstration. And now moving on, I would like to take a minute and introduce our customer, Aaron Boyer from FlexenGate. Aaron, whenever you're ready, please take it away.
Thank you, Charissa. All right, so those of you not familiar with FlexenGate, we're a Tier 1 automotive supplier. As you'll see in the next slide, we have around 27,000 employees globally. We're around 10 countries. We're a little over $6 billion in revenue, and currently we're at 78 plants, production and R&D centers worldwide. Next slide will show some of our footprint. You see we're mostly throughout the United States, but we also have a strong presence in Europe, engineering capabilities in India, and some small manufacturing in China, over in Japan, and down in Argentina. So by this, you'll see by the next slide that we have a very large footprint of customers. And this, obviously when you're dealing with this large of a footprint of customers, you deal with a lot of different softwares, the design softwares that they're utilizing, and with that, the different levels of software they're at. So managing all the different data that's coming in becomes a nightmare if you're a program manager on multiple functions, or in one individual, but supporting different customers. So this is kind of key to notice here that we got a lot of different software coming in. So next slide will show our divisions. We have a plastics division, both Class A and structural plastics. We have a lighting systems division, both forward lighting and signal lighting. We have a mechanical assemblies division, pedals showing here, but a lot of different mechanical assemblies, four-post hinges, door checks, hoists, tire hoists, and that's a lot of different mechanical assemblies. Exterior metals, FlexenGate's mostly known for the metal steel bumpers, but here we have the tailgate for the F-150 that we are currently producing. So we have multiple exterior metal components. Then metal body structures, excuse me. So a lot of large metal body structures. As you can see here, this is a rear ladder assembly or a large floor pan. And then we have an electronics division, both designing electronics as well as a small battery division that we've been developing to support the EV initiative. So next slide here, you'll start to see some of these products, and you can see there's a lot of Class A surface on this. This is obviously a huge driver of graphics, intense CAD data that you're working with. A list of our products on the left here, but I mostly just wanted you to see that it's very intense, especially on a grill or something like that, where you just have a lot of small pieces of surface that cause a lot of data, and graphics requirements for a software. The next slide, you'll see more of this as we get to interior plastics. Large assemblies, a lot of information given, but we have a full interior plastics division that's very dependent on CAD data and viewing and collaborating with that. And then finally, we have a lighting division shown here. and I picked these 3 divisions to show, that our injection molding needs, as well as the extensive amount of data that we're, utilizing, to view. Because not only you're looking at the data here when you're developing design this, but you need to know the surround data. So as you're looking at a front grille or a headlamp, you need all the information around that to interface to. So we're looking for something obviously that can handle a large amount of data very efficiently. So if we go to the next slide here, we see around 25 years ago, FlexiGate sought out to find a solution for this. We found SpinFire Insight and found that it was the best solution. We had tried multiple different competitors. It handles everyone's software from NX to CATIA, which were the 2 primary that we're utilizing, but you can also, AutoCAD, Creo, SolidWorks. It'll read all the step files. It reads all the different types of software that you need to be able to, deal with these different, designs that you're working with, as well as the different versions, because you might be dealing with one customer at one version of software and another customer at a different version. You don't have to worry about having all the different versions loaded on everyone's machine so that they can, view the software. So the big thing that it gave us was the ability to have everyone independent, engineers, designers, program managers, quoting, quality. They didn't have to go and bother a designer every time they needed to review something. So it gave them the independence they needed to, view the data, at their time, on their, own time schedule, on their, requirements and everything, as well as able to create presentations to either show to a customer or get back to a designer for a design change or an engineering update. It caused a great amount of independence with everyone. It's very capable of handling all kinds of different, as well as importing data. Is another important thing. Is you might bring in the light, a headlamp, but you got to bring in the grill and bring in those. You can import all those separately. So as we're looking at the next slide here, we took a headlamp, and SpinFire has a very good capability of making a pretty good graphic representation of a product here. This presentation quality here, a lot of sales and program managers will take the product like this, dress it up, look very clean. You can see it has a shadow and a reflective surface, so you can make it look pretty realistic, which is great for a presentation, as well as it gives the program manager, the sales, the quoting department, the independence to do this on their own. They don't need to go to either a CAD designer to develop this, or even a graphics. If you have a graphics illustrator or something like that, you don't have to bother them. They can create this all on their own. And then also it allows, like here we have a mold or full tool, and very large amount of data, but allows us to be able to review this. They would be able to pull this up in a design review. Again, not having to have a designer in the review, but the tooling engineer can pull this up, conduct the review. A very large piece of data here. It moves very well on the screen, as you saw earlier in Ricky's. He was able to move it around on screen very easily. By making the size of the model much more manageable. Right here we have the cavity and core turned off, so you can see all the cooling lines and all the information in a extensive product like this. But the big thing is the independence. Everyone can go review this, have a meeting on it, request changes. Just really good for improving the collaboration of a team. The next slide would show a section cut here that basically what I wanted to show here is it's very hard to create a cross section and then have it work with a strong graphics representation of what's going on. But not only when you cut this section, there's what's called a handle in SpinFire, and you can grab that handle right at the center and slide it back and forth. So you can move your section, like live right through the part, analyze every little section. You can even set it to move 10 millimeters, 5 millimeters at a time. So you can look for crash conditions, all kinds of information can be extracted from this. And easy for everyone to use. Another function here we use quite a bit is our model compare. We did show, or Ricky showed this a little bit earlier. This is an example how we would use it on the product end. So it allows you to do a quick overlay. So this would be a new version of a beauty shield that the customer had given us compared to the old version that they had. You can see that the wings are red, so the wings were removed. But in a quick review, the green part shows that has unchanged. The red part was removed and the blue is new. So we can see here that the holes changed and something happened with the walls. So it allows you to have a quick ability to make sure the changes that you expected to happen occurred, and to see if there's any other changes that you were not expecting to happen. You can catch those, make sure that you're capturing them in your engineering change documentation. And we take this with the changes, a screen grab of this, and keep that as a document to show what has changed, what we're expecting, what we didn't expect to see, and just verify that to make sure we capture everything that the customer is looking for. So and it also this is an independent thing. Again, the program manager, the engineer can do this. You don't have to bother a designer to do it. Very quick, very simple. And then it might drive changes back or discussions with the customer. Say, okay, we need this, but actually you'll see in the next slide here, we can go forward, that it was, we did a draft analysis, and although the wall changed, where you can see a little bit of yellow there, it didn't get enough draft. So these draft analysis is pretty powerful little analysis tool, both for tooling engineers as well as manufacturing or engineering group, product engineer, and the CAD itself, where they can analyze their draft. You are allowed to, it's very versatile. You'll be able to pick a vector, so your tool vector can be determined, and it doesn't have to be specifically on an axis. You can open it up per the vector. You can set the draft requirements that you want to see, and then analyze it. And like I said here, we can see in the one area it's yellow, meaning it doesn't have enough draft, and we would need to fix that. So this is very important to be able to catch these things before you get too far downstream and in trouble. So obviously it says reduces cost downstream. Definitely. You don't want it catches your mistakes. This is where the ability of SpinFire gets good for on the shop floor in that, reviewing PMI and GD&T. The native CAD data often contains this information. This eliminates drawings, so you don't have to have an undocumented piece of paper out on the floor. You're always opening the latest data here, and you're able to review the functional dimensioning tolerance or GD&T that's embedded within that model, and make sure you're correctly using the right data, as well as this is good for the quality fixture group in our company, where they don't have to, again, bother a CAD designer. They can open this up. They see all the GD&T, all the information they need to build that fixture, review the fixture with the fixture builder, and can be completely independent in their job. So finally, SpinFire has been great for us in the ability of making everyone self-independent. They don't have to bother CAD designers. They have their access to all their data. They can mark it up, send information back to the customer or into the design group to keep things flowing without having to slow down and wait for someone. It obviously creates a lot of efficiency within the team, within the company. It makes everyone feel a little more independent, that they can get their own work done and not be dependent on someone else. And again, across the entire company, with being a global company, we're dealing with customers worldwide. So it doesn't matter whose data we have to deal with, SpinFire can open that data up, and we can utilize it or do the collaborative meeting that we need to conduct. So very strong, very powerful. Again, we've had this for over 25 years, and it's a big success within FlexNgate engineering group. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for your insightful information. I think there's a lot of people in the audience that are going to find value in what you shared with us today. So just thank you again. Really appreciate it. And at this time, we've had some questions come through that we will address for you. We have a few minutes left. I see one came in. Ricky, I think you could answer this question. What languages are available
Yeah,
to the
absolutely.
users?
That's a great question. And if you don't mind, I'll share my screen again just to show you. So SpinFire Insight is extremely configurable. And down here, it allows you to select the different languages that you'd like to utilize. So you can set that, and your application will then reflect whatever change you specify. Additionally, like I mentioned, it's very configurable as far as the 3D viewer goes. You can set how everything looks and functions, as well as 2D viewing as well. And one additional thing I'd like to point out is our documentation. If you're not familiar with SpinFire Insight, we have a great documentation site that can kind of walk you through all of the different capabilities and functionality that exists within SpinFire. Additionally, there's this Spinny over here. We call it Spinny. It's an AI agent. So if there's any questions that you have, even if it's after this webinar, you can just ask Spinny and it will pull up direct links to show you exactly how to implement whatever question you're asking. So it's a great resource to have if you are unfamiliar with SpinFire or would just like more information about what's new and how to use it.
Thank you, Ricky. And since you are sharing your screen, in case this comes of value, there's another question that came in that I think would be great to ask you. What are some of the most valuable analysis or review capability mold teams that tend to use inside SpinFire Insight?
Yeah, another great question. So exactly what Aaron kind of talked about. You have model comparison, draft angle analysis is something that often comes up as well. And so there's a lot of different analysis tools depending on your use case that are available to you. And the nice thing about it is that with SpinFire Insight, you're not manipulating the model itself. So you don't have to worry about your model getting messed up by someone else that's viewing it, as in comparison with, full-on CAD systems where people can actually manipulate geometry and things like that. You're basically just viewing within SpinFire Insight, which makes your data a lot more safe and just provides a good way of monitoring and looking at different data sets amongst the your entire team, regardless of their role.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Ricky. Aaron, I think we have a question that maybe you could answer for us. What were some of the biggest workflow bottlenecks before implementing SpinFire Insight, especially for the non-design teams?
So actually, this your product started a new position within the company because we had what we called a product verification technician, what would verify the data as it came in, making sure what engineering changes were expected were there, and if there was any new engineering changes that needed to occur. And so we literally generated this position around SpinFire so that the file would be read in, that model compare done, and we create a report of it. So what generated all that was not always being able to track exactly what the customer was changing, or that your changes weren't being implemented. So we actually literally developed a position on this. It was very good. So
awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
There's another question. Ricky, I think you want to share your screen for this.
Yeah. So a question was asked, can you save from SpinFire Insight to different CAD formats? And so we do have a converter here that allows you to, it will basically ask you to specify a file that you'd like to convert. And so from here, you can specify what file you'd like to export that as. And so here's kind of a list of all the exports that we have available to you. And you can also do this in batches as well. I believe it's up to, I want to say it's 10 files at a time that you can do this batching process on. So if you have several files that you'd like to export to 3D PDF, for example, you can do that and convert within SpinFire Insight.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think there was one more. I can probably take this one. For organizations evaluating CAD viewers, what differentiates SpinFire Insight from others? And I would have to say it's the fact that what we offer is the SpinFire Enterprise Bundle, where you gain unlimited access to SpinFire Insight. And this touches on what Aaron was mentioning about the different departments that would then gain access to the CAD files, whether it's engineering or quoting or procurement. It really opens up the table for who can gain access to SpinFire Insight. So thank you for that question. And I'm not sure that I'm seeing any more. So, okay, I think that is it for today. So at this time, I would really like to thank all of you again for attending today. If you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if we missed anything, we will definitely reach out to you directly. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a wonderful day.